Today we're ranking each and every price point in FPL, from budget enablers all the way up to premium superstars for goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders and forwards. I've picked my top 5 picks for every price point in the game, so whether you've got 4 million or 14, I've got you covered. This is the video you need for game week 1, so let's jump into things. This video is absolutely massive. Every single price point in the game covered for every single position. If you can appreciate the effort it has taken to make this video, go ahead and click the like button right now. 30 likes is the aim for today's video, and of course make sure you're subscribing to the channel as well. I make FPL videos to help you guys at home, and by you guys just clicking that little red button, it helps me out a massive amount. On the previous video I asked if we could hit 800 subs. You guys have absolutely smashed that, so let's see if we can hit 850 on today's video. Now we're covering first off the 4 to 4.5 million goalkeepers, a price point which is quite popular in FPL. I also have some Night Managers approved picks throughout today's video to look out for, and you'll see the Night Managers logo next to the players who are approved by Night Managers. So we have Petrovic and Perry approved by Night Manager, and if you aren't aware on who Night Managers are, they are the best performing AI algorithm in FPL, and I'm partnered with them this season. You can use code FPL Mogs in their checkout to get a 2 free week trial, and also if you like their services after the trial is finished, code FPL Mogs gets you 20% off your first build month. But let's get stuck in with the goalkeepers. Starting first off, we have Petrovic, Bournemouth's new goalkeeper, signed from Chelsea, a Night Manager's approved pick. Quite low owned, and I think that's mainly because of the first fixture with Liverpool away from home. Of course, these types of goalkeepers, I feel, is you have to maybe partner with other goalkeepers, have a rotational pair, but Petrovic for me has decent fixtures for a long period of time, and I wouldn't mind playing him in some of the more difficult fixtures as well, getting a few more save points up there. But you have to be wary that Bournemouth have lost quite a lot of defenders in this transfer window. Dubravka coming in at number 2, 4 million. You have to be aware Dubravka had a small injury issue leaving Newcastle going to Burnley. Definitely one to keep your eye on, but he's mainly going to be sat on the bench at that 4 million price tag, enabling you to go ahead and improve other parts of your team. Kelleher, another player that wasn't featured in the latest Brentford squad, so 4 million Valdemarson might actually take his place to start the season. Just keep your eye out on that, but 23% owned in FPL. It's really surprising how high owned he is, but I still think he's a really decent pick as a 4.5. Perry, a really sleeper pick that not many people are going for. 0.3% owned. Yes, he's from a newly promoted side, but a newly promoted side that were really great defensively in the Championship. In fact, they had a better defensive expected goals concede record than Burnley, and Burnley had an amazing defence last season, we all know. But yeah, 0.66 expected goals conceded in the Championship for Leeds. Can they carry it through to the Premier League? I don't exactly think the numbers will be anywhere near that, but I think that strong physical presence in their defence will make it hard for Premier League teams to go ahead and score against them. We also have Bruggen at the end of this list, a solid keeper who has been in the Premier League for a while now. I think at 4.5 million with their somewhat okay fixtures could be a decent shout in goal as well. The 5 to 5.5 million goalkeepers, starting with Sells of Nottingham Forest. I think he's fantastic to start the FPL season with. The only concern I have is more value being within the actual defenders of Nottingham Forest in Milenkovic, Murillo and Nico Williams, possibly even Aina if you're looking to go that route, but I still think he's a fantastic keeper in isolation. You have Robert Sanchez next of Chelsea, who have fantastic fixtures to start the season. A lot of people kind of going away from Robert Sanchez in some drafts I've seen because of the Colwill injury, but I think they do have enough defensive replacements in the squad to field a good 11 for the starting games of the season. I do think clean sheet odds will be slightly hindered, but still a very good team with world-class players like Caicedo, Cucurella, Reece James still in that defensive line who can really deal with anything thrown at them, as we've seen them deal with PSG, probably the best team in the world. You have Pickford at 5.5, of course, 2 seasons running being the top scoring keeper in FPL. Can he do it again? Maybe, I'm not too sure. 5.5 million seems a lot to pay for Pickford because, of course, we could just pay a cheaper price in previous seasons, but I do think he's quite worth it with his opening fixtures. You have next David Raya and Alisson, and I've picked them for one reason only. This is a cheap way into their defensive line. You have David Raya and Alisson Becker's teams expected goals conceded in the first column there, 0.92 for Arsenal and 0.99 for Liverpool. Good defensive records, and they are 5.5 rather than the 6 million you're probably going to be paying for the Arsenal and Liverpool defenders in their squad. For me, there aren't too many 4 million defensive options. I really would say there are four main ones to really pay attention to, and that's Rodon, Esteve, Goodmanson and Ronaldo. The main two being Rodon and Esteve. I think they are solid centre-backs for their clubs. I expect their CBIT, their defensive contribution points, to be through the roof this season with the amount of defending they're going to have to do in the Premier League. We have then two left-back players in Goodmanson and Ronaldo. I think Goodmanson's going to be fantastic for Leeds with Nonto sitting in front of him. You also have Ronaldo of Sunderland, a player who played for Atletico Madrid, now playing for my club Sunderland. I think he could be really fantastic to start the season with their good fixtures in West Ham, Brentford and Burnley. But yeah, fantastic options there at 4 million. These are really budget enabler players. You then have a ones to watch player in Haven. I don't think Manchester United have really made enough defensive additions to their squad this transfer window, so definitely keep your eye on Haven, see if he's getting his way into the starting 11. We'll have to see how he competes with the likes of Luke Shaw and Diego Dallo, but he has looked really okay in pre-season, so just keep an eye on him. But these four in Rodon, Esteve, Goodmanson and Ronaldo are the ones to be putting in your Game Week 1 teams. For me, this price bracket of 4.5 to 5 million gives massive FPL value to start the season. You're going to gain access to underrated defences and also players that have good underlying stats for defensive contribution points. I think this is going to be the best set of players to start at this price point. You have a Night Manager's approved pick to start things off with Anderson of Fulham. Fulham themselves were the best, well, the sixth best team in terms of expected goals conceded last season. 6th best in the Premier League, better than Chelsea. That's definitely telling you something about this Fulham defence. You also have great underlying data for defensive contribution points in an average of 9.56 CBIT per 90 for Anderson. A fantastic player in my opinion for Game Week 1. You have Williams at 5 million, a 5 million option from that Nottingham Forest defence. I think he's really solid with a good CBIT average per 90. Really low ownership, which is quite surprising. I think he's a really great option for Game Week 1 onwards. You then have a bit of a rogue pick in Tosun of Chelsea. We've seen the Colwill injury. I think Tosun will come straight into that Chelsea back line, and hopefully they don't sign anyone before the Game Week 1 deadline, because I think he could be a sneaky pick and a cheap way into the Chelsea defence. You have Konsa, and now Konsa is a pick that's extremely popular because of the good fixtures he has in the first few game weeks. The CBIT per 90 isn't great whatsoever, and I don't think he's going to get too many defensive contribution points this season, but with the good fixtures and the price you're paying to get into the Aston Villa defence, probably one of the more nailed Aston Villa defenders in all honesty, is a decent price to pay for Konsa in my opinion. You then have Richards. Now Richards is labelled as 4 million on my graphic, but he's 4.5 million and he's still a fantastic pick to start the season with as well. 9.07 CBIT average per 90, and of course you only need 10 to get those 2 extra points every single week. I think he's great to start the season with, and that's my 4.5 to 5 million defenders list. Kicking off this list, we have Virgil van Dijk, a Night Manager's approved pick, and for good reason. He's part of a fantastic defence, and he gets really good CBIT, which is quite surprising considering Liverpool hold the ball quite a lot. Now, for the second pick, we have Pedro Porro, another Night Manager's approved pick, and Sam Harwood, the founder of Night Managers, actually said that Pedro Porro has a higher expected points. However, the Night Manager's algorithm does rate Virgil van Dijk as a more solid pick, and I would agree with the algorithm on this one. I think Virgil van Dijk is a much more solid and safe option to start Game Week 1 with than Pedro Porro, but I can understand the appeal of Pedro Porro. Maddison is now out. Pedro Porro could take a lot more set pieces than he normally would instead of sharing them. He's got good fixtures to start a few game weeks with. I think he could feature in my Game Week 1 team, in all honesty. Same with the next person on this list here, Murillo. Now, it was a tough decision between Milenkovic and Murillo, but I've gone with Murillo because he features in almost every single one of my drafts I'm making at the moment. A low ownership, 5.5, Forest defender. Of course, we know Forest are really great defensively. He's got fantastic defensive contribution data. I think he's a great pick. Cucurella next, a player that everyone hates, but he's so advanced for Chelsea. And at 6 million, I think he's a really decent way into the Chelsea defence, in all honesty. Same price point as Frimpong, who's basically Liverpool's new right winger. We've seen some defensive frailties within that Community Shield match. I think those defensive frailties will be fixed as we go through the first few game weeks. Liverpool have got some okay fixtures here and there throughout the first 6 to 8 game weeks, and I think Frimpong could be a really great value pick to start the season with. It depends how you think defensively Frimpong will do in terms of defensive contribution points. I don't think he'll do well at all, considering he's basically playing right wing. This price bracket again providing massive value, but now for the midfielders, the 4.5 to 5.5 midfielders, Anderson being the first one as a Night Manager's approved pick. Great CBIT per 90, playing for a good defence, and of course chips in here and there with goals and assists. He won't do it too much, but you'll know you're going to get decent defensive contribution points throughout the season. I think he's a really solid player to start in your FPL teams at 5.5. It lets you improve other aspects of your team, no questions asked. Really fantastic pick. Similar with Reinders, of course, really great data from the Serie A. I think, though, we have to keep in mind Rodri could be absent till around mid-September. Does that mean Reinders is going to play a deeper role? I do think Gonzalez from City could just step in and fill that role, and maybe some other players as well. And we see Reinders a little bit more advanced like we've seen in pre-season. But I still think he's a really curious pick. 5.5. Is he going to start every game week? If he does, I think he's one of the top picks in FPL. Adingra for Sunderland, 5.5. Massively underrated. For me, Adingra could rival the top two in this list as well. If he just comes away with a return or two in the first 3 game weeks, he has really great starting 3 game weeks of West Ham, Burnley, Brentford, 2 home fixtures in there as well. I think he's really slept on. I might go with Adingra in my Game Week 1 squad. Let me know in the comments what you think of these lists, by the way, as well. You can roast me in the comments all you want. I really don't mind. Dewsbury Hall at 5 million. An interesting player. A really interesting one. In their latest pre-season friendly, he played the number 10 role for Everton. Now, 5 million will let you take that 0.5 that you may have spent on the likes of Anderson, Reinders, Adingra, whoever else, and put it into other players that could drastically improve the squad. We'll see how the new signing of Jack Grealish affects the new role of Dewsbury Hall. He looked really good in the pre-season match, I have to admit. But yeah, pretty decent shout in my opinion at 5 million. Now you have the new Wolves signing, Arias, I might be pronouncing that wrong, but Arias is how I'm going to say it. 5.5, 1% owned. For me, I think he's going to be on a lot of set pieces for Wolves this season. I think that's where the value comes. He's basically going to be replacing Cunha. We've seen in the Club World Cup, he was absolutely electric. He provided the most chances for his team. I think it was around 18 chances created. I could be wrong, but I do think I read that in a FPL Focal article earlier this morning. Really underrated pick in my opinion. And well, when Wolves' fixtures get quite good, I think he could be a bit of a sleeper pick. This list was actually one of the hardest to make, the 6 to 6.5 million pound midfielders. Luckily, we have 2 Night Managers approved picks in this list, Matoma and Yuri Tillemans. We'll start with Matoma. He's done it in the Premier League now. We know how good he is. I think he's a safe way into the Brighton attack. 6.5 million. He's a hidden gem in FPL, in my opinion, as a differential option. 6.5% owned. I think he's great for Game Week 1. Tielemans is actually expected to get more points than Matoma for the first few game weeks according to the Night Manager's algorithm. However, like myself, Night Managers agrees that Matoma is a safer pick to start Game Week 1 with. Tielemans is a really good option for me. Defensive contribution points, tick. 3 goals, 7 assists last season, tick. And that's from defensive midfield. That's hard to do. That's not normal. I think he's great. I think he's really great. And if he has penalties for Aston Villa, that's even better. We'll see how that pans out, but that could be really fantastic. You then have Ndiaye of Everton. Of course, Grealish has just went to Everton. Maybe that disrupts things in terms of positions going up front. I still think Ndiaye is going to play every single game week for Everton. He's a fantastically skilled Premier League player now, and there was rumours about him leaving the club. That hasn't been confirmed at all yet. I think he's great to start game week 1 with, and quite a popular pick at 12.9% owned as well, and surprisingly for a winger has really good defensive contribution points. You also have Sarr of Crystal Palace. He's an absolute data monster. Absolute data monster. He was one of my favourite players to own last season. I will just say it depends massively on what happens with Eze. If Eze leaves the club, I think the output going forward for Crystal Palace will reduce. It really depends who else they bring in, but right now, judging on the fact that Eze remains at the club, I still think Sarr's a fantastic option to own in FPL. You then have Jorginho Ruta of Brighton as well, 6 million. Now, in pre-season, when Brighton have been playing, they have been putting A-team and B-team out, and Ruta's actually been a part of that A-team. Hertzler has said that Ruta and Welbeck could play at the same time this season, so that's something to keep your eye on. But at 6 million... I think it's a really decent pick, and I think I like him a little bit better than Minte as well, also at 6 million, a Brighton option, who I think is pretty highly rated as well. But 0.7% owned, a bit of a sleeper pick. I think he could be great to start game week 1 with. I'm not seeing many drafts include players at this price point from 7 to 8 million. I think you've got some really good options here, and Rodgers for me is one of my favourites. I think we really have to be careful with Rodgers because of the slight issue he had in pre-season. If we don't find out any information before the game week 1 deadline on Rodgers, we can't pick him. Simple. Because if he doesn't play, that's just a wasted spot in your team. You're going to get someone off your bench who isn't as good, and it's going to be a bit of a disaster. But if we get the news that he's fine, and I do suspect he is because he's a pretty resilient player, he plays all the time for Aston Villa, I think he'd be really fantastic. He's going to play a lot of minutes for Villa this season if he's nice, fit and well, which he had been all the way through last season. I think he's a great pick considering Aston Villa's fixtures to start the season. Cody Gakpo on that left side. Diaz has now left the club. Cody Gakpo, it's your time to shine on that left-hand side. I think he looked quite impressive in the Community Shield. Something to be wary of, it does seem that he's dropping a little bit further back to assist Kirkez at that left-back position. We'll see how that pans out as the game week starts, but still a really good pick in my opinion. Semenyo as well, a tough game to start the season against Liverpool, but decent fixtures after, and of course Semenyo has pretty good data himself as well, likes to get a shot away outside the box. Eze, again, I said this when I spoke about Sarr in the previous section, it depends what happens with him. If he goes to Arsenal, I don't think he's an FPL pick we can consider straight away. I think we have to wait and see. But if he stays at Palace, I think it's definitely one to consider. We have to be wary that they are now in the Europa Conference League and they have a few extra fixtures in the first few game weeks to be wary of, but still, I think it's a great option. We'll see what happens with penalties. Maybe they go to Mateta. But yeah, Eze is still a decent pick. Neto is a pick that is a risky one, I have to be honest, but I thought I had to include him on this list because how good he was in the Club World Cup. Chelsea fans are rating him so highly that they want him to start on that right wing and be that right winger for the start of the season. I think I agree. I think Neto has looked really fantastic for Chelsea. And I think he deserves that starting spot this season. We'll see how things pan out with different signings like Gittins and other players like that. Is Palmer going to play on that right-hand side? Is João Pedro going to be playing behind the striker? We'll have to wait and see. But for me, a bit of a risky one if you're up for it. Neto of Chelsea at 7 million is pretty decent. Moving to the more premium midfielders now, of course, starting the list with Salah. Who else would we start with? The FPL king himself. Look at the data. It's absolutely insane. Of course, I will just mention as we move to the second player here, Palmer's actually more highly owned than Mohamed Salah in FPL. And I think that's for one reason only. Salah's price of 14.5 million. It's a lot of money to put into one singular player in your FPL team, but he's done it for 8 consecutive years. Last year, 8 consecutive seasons. Last season, 344. Record-breaking season in terms of points. I think he's worth it. Palmer, I think it's a fantastic pick. I really like him for game week 1. The data's great. 10.5 million seems a fair price to get into that Chelsea attack, and especially a player who's going to play every single game week. I think he's fantastic. Now, the order of these last 3, honestly, this took ages. I could not decide for the life of me who to put in this third spot. I've went with Bruno Fernandes. And I'll kind of have to justify myself here, because you'll have Arsenal fans go, oh my God, Saka, and then Liverpool, oh my God, Wirtz. Bruno Fernandes has fantastic CBIRT per 90, and I think that will push him over the line throughout the season, just slowly ticking away with those points, those 2 extra points every game week. They will add up. They really will add up. He's on penalties for Manchester United. He's got a new forward line in front of him. I think I really quite like Bruno Fernandes as the FPL pick. I never thought I would say that, looking at how United performed last season. I really didn't think I would, but these new rules and the way United have went about this transfer window, I really like Bruno as a pick. I really do. Next, we have Wirtz ahead of Bukayo Saka. I think Wirtz, for me, just looks it, doesn't he? He looks fantastic. That Community Shield game, yes, Liverpool were a bit shaky at times, but we had a little glimpse of what Wirtz can offer, and I think he's going to be fantastic. He's going to get a lot of assists for me this season. An amazing world-class lineup all around him, and him himself, he's a world-class player. He's brilliant. 8.5 million seems quite cheap for Wirtz as well. I think he's great. Saka in this last spot doesn't mean he's a bad FPL pick. It really doesn't. The Arsenal fixtures do dampen him ever so slightly, and the fact he's going to lose penalties probably to Victor Gyökeres is definitely factored into this ranking here, but Bukayo Saka is still a really great FPL option. Definitely not one to sleep on. It does pain me to put Mayenda last on the list. I am a Mackham, I love Eliza Mayenda, but these options ahead of him are just better at that 5.5 to 6 million forward price point. Fulkrug for me is the only one on this list. Maybe Peru as well, that really attracts my eye to start game week 1 with. There are some if buts and maybes with some of these picks, but Fulkrug seems injury free, seems really up for the season. He's got some great creators around him in Jared Bowen, Paqueta, Diouf on that left back position. Looks like he could put a heck of a cross in, and of course we know Fulkrug is an absolute giant. I think he's got good fixtures to start the season with, especially Sunderland away from home could be a decent fixture for him as an attacker. A good player to start the season with, in my opinion, if you need a £6 million forward. Thiago, this is when the if buts and maybes come in. He would be second on this list if we know that Wissa is definitely leaving. It's kind of up in the air. It seems like it's going to happen, and I think he will lead the line if Wissa does leave. I don't think any recruitment will be needed. Beto, another if but or maybe, but I do think Beto will start against Leeds. Leeds are a physical side. They've got some big defenders. Beto will be needed in that fixture in particular. We'll sort of see how he deals in that fixture. If it is the case, he isn't doing too well because David Moyes hasn't been impressed with Beto in pre-season. I do think Barry will step in quite easily at that 6 million price as well. So one to watch out for if Beto really doesn't perform in this first game week. Peru for Leeds, good fixtures across the board. Can he adapt to the Premier League? We'll have to wait and see, because Leeds aren't going to have as much of the ball now. They won't be able to really attack those flanks and get the ball into him at his feet. He's a great finisher. He is really fantastic at finishing. We'll see how he deals with things. But 5.5, I think he's an okay option, to be really honest with you. Eliza Mayenda, I'm a Sunderland fan, so I am biased, but I don't think he's going to come away in the first 3 game weeks empty-handed. I think he goes and gets 1 assist, maybe 1 goal. I think he's an okay option to start the season with. I might pick him just because I'm a Sunderland man. Oi, big man, what's your name? It would be great to sing it when he does score, but yeah, I've got him last on this list. There aren't too many options on this list that are really great definite picks. Piru, Fulkrug, those are probably my guesses. Jumping up a price bracket to 6.5, 7.5 now. Mateta as the first option and my favourite £7.5 million forward. Probably on penalties now. He's Night Managers approved. Remember, there is a 2 free week trial at the moment if you use code FPLMogs at checkout. If you do like their services as well, code FPLMogs will get you 20% off your first month. Definitely check them out. You'll have Night Manager services at least for the first 2 game weeks if you activate that code today. Fantastic offer in my opinion, but Night Managers has approved Mateta as a fantastic pick, and I think we know why. I think looking at that Community Shield game, you've seen that Mateta is still a fantastic FPL option, and he might have penalties for Palace now. That's a massive, massive thing for Mateta, in my opinion. And for me, he does have some decent fixtures a bit later down the line. So starting game week 1 might sound a bit iffy with that Chelsea away fixture, but I still think a fantastic FPL option. João Pedro next for me, a really, really high owned player. 54.4% of all FPL teams have João Pedro in them. That's crazy to me. That's absolutely crazy. I do think, looking at him in that Chelsea side, it looks like he's played with them for absolutely ages. The link-up play, how he just deals with certain areas of the pitch, drifting around, helping people out, like Palmer especially. He does look really, really great for Chelsea, and I'll be lying if I said I wasn't tempted to go with him in game week 1. Yeah, I think he's really great. Obviously, he's not going to have penalties now like he did at Brighton because Palmer exists and is a fantastic penalty taker. Strand Larsen is one to talk about here. Yes, game week 1 isn't great, but past that, I think he's got decent fixtures. I don't think he'll be on penalties for Wolves. I think it will be on their new signing. So that maybe dampens him a little bit, but at 6.5 million, I think he's a really great option. I think Wolves will have a pretty good season as well. Evan Nielsen, 7 million. You probably don't want to start game week 1 with him, but if you can manage to have him on your bench and play him game week 2, I think it's a good option. I played a lot with Evan Nielsen last season as a differential, and he improved my rank drastically. Night Manager suggested last season that I go ahead and get Evan Nielsen. I did do that, and I have to say, he smashed my rank up to pieces. I was like 2 millionth in the world. Buying Evan Nielsen went straight up. It was so fun. So maybe a little bit of a soft spot for Evan Nielsen there. Chris Wood. Now, Chris Wood would definitely be higher on this list if Nottingham Forest didn't have such an abysmal pre-season. Clean sheets, no problem in pre-season. Goals, yeah, it's not looking good, bruv. That's why I've put Chris Wood at the bottom here. Maybe the goals are going to run out a little bit for Nottingham Forest this season. We'll have to wait and see, of course. Of course, Chris Wood last season was absolutely fantastic. I don't think he's going to be dramatically worse, but he wasn't really a player that got a lot of hauls in FPL either. Definitely keep your eye on him. 7.5 million, a decent option, but this is how I'd rank that list. Last but not least, the 8 to 14 million bracket. Not a lot of options in this bracket here, but of course we're missing a big name in Alexander Isak out. I think it's obvious why he's missing. We'll see what happens with him and his situation coming in the next few weeks. But Haaland kicking things off. I think it's super close between Haaland and Ollie Watkins. If Watkins definitely had pens, I think I would actually put him ahead of Erling Haaland in this particular list. But Erling Haaland is an absolute machine. He's an absolute machine. Goal scoring, he's one of the best in the world, if not the best, playing in that Manchester City Sky Blue. I think if you're really ballsy enough, starting with Erling Haaland and not Salah could be a genuine strategy you go for. But Salah just is that amazing FPL option and has been for 8 consecutive seasons now. So that's why his ownership is only at 22.4% in my opinion. But I think he's a great option to start game week 1 with if you're looking to go maybe away from Mo Salah or potentially have both. Ollie Watkins, as I mentioned, I would put him ahead of Haaland if he had pens. I'm not too sure he does. I think Tielemans will. But 21% owned Ollie Watkins here. I think this will slowly rise up as we get closer to the Game Week 1 deadline. An amazing pre-season. Seems like he's committed now fully to Aston Villa now. Manchester United have went and got Benjamin Sesko. Great underlying data in terms of goal scoring. He does pop up with the odd assist as well. I think he's really fantastic with the opening fixtures that Aston Villa have. Hugo Ekitike, 11.4% ownership. This shocked me. I expected him to be much, much lower than this. 8.5 million, Hugo Ekitike. Not bad fixtures for Liverpool opening up. We've seen how important he is in that Liverpool side in the Community Shield. Of course, scoring a goal as well, absolutely fantastic. I think he's a really great pick to start Game Week 1 with, especially the fact that the Isak transfer and that whole mess hasn't been resolved. It seems that Ekitike is going to be the main man, at least to start the Premier League season with. Gyökeres, it seems that he's going to be on penalties for Arsenal. 9 million. Very, very high owned. Higher owned than Erling Haaland, which is absolutely crazy. 25.8%. Arsenal's fixtures aren't too good. That's why he's so low on the list. But yeah, I mean, look at that data. Expected goals per 90. 0.99. It's just a bit insane, isn't it? You then go last on the list here, Jared Bowen. I do think he's really great. Good data behind him. Was my differential towards the end of last season. Sunderland away is the first fixture. Good opening fixture for him. Yeah, I think that's how I'd rank the 8 to 14 million forwards. Just a quick shout out to Night Managers for the help on today's video. Of course, I'm partnered with them this season, and using code FPLMOGS will get you 2 free weeks of a Night Manager services. And if you do like their services, at the end of that 2 free weeks, you can get 20% off your first build month. I'm going to flash up some data and some graphics on this side of the screen to show you how brilliant they are and sort of how the service works. They recommend personalized transfers for your team, benching order, how you should line up for any given game week, chip strategy, which is a massive thing other algorithms do not help you with, and of course they just are the best performing algorithm in FPL. Definitely go check them out. Link in the description, code FPLMOGS. Expect daily videos coming to you from this channel. We're getting so close to Game Week 1. I'll be making videos every single day to help you guys get ready for that Game Week 1 deadline. Now, if you enjoyed today's video, go ahead and click the like button. And if you aren't yet subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe as well for future FPL content and deadline streams. But that is everything for today's video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.